So earlier we talked about relational operators. We talked about the double equal here, which means equal, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal. Next, we'll talk about logical operators, which are and the sign we use is 2 ampersands there. We'll learn about or, which is 2 pipes, okay? And then we'll talk about not, which is the simple exclamation mark, such as that. So logical operators go hand in hand with relational operators, right? Relational operators, they spit out either a true or false, meaning they spit out a boolean, right? So as we saw earlier here, A is less or equal to B. This condition here, the if inside of your if statement, this condition here can either be true or false. Let's go ahead and use our logical operators here. Okay, let's start with and. So let's go ahead and create 2 booleans here, right? Of variables that hold true, either true or false. Let's say boolean first is true and boolean second is false. Okay, so we have first and second, those are boolean variables, and first is true, second is false. Let's go ahead and use and see what results we will get. Okay, so let's go ahead in the middle here and say and. So shift and ampersand, there we go. Now we have to change, of course, here. Let's say first and second. Okay, so if first and second, let's just save this and run and see what will happen. So nothing is showing here. I wonder what's going on. Well, notice something here. So we say that boolean first is true, boolean second is false. The reason why nothing is being printed out is because our condition here is false. And you may ask, well, why is it false? What's going on? We only need to have one variable to be false for the whole statement to be false. Meaning, since first is true, second is false, because we have one false, as we put these two together, right, first and second, because we have one false, then this entire condition here returns a false. Therefore, you're not seeing anything being displayed at the bottom here. So our yes, what we wanted to display here, it's not showing. Okay, so we know now for the end, if one variable is false, then the entire condition returns false. Here, if we put true, so now we have first is true, second is also true, and now if we said if first and second, this condition here will return true, and we should see yes being displayed. Run this, and yes, indeed, you see there's yes. One thing to remember here, the only thing you need to remember here is that when you are using the AND logical operator, right, if one of the statement is true and the other one is false, then the entire condition is going to return false. Only needs to have one false to make everything false. So our second logical operator is going to be OR, which is this 2 pipes here. Okay, let's go ahead and change this to OR. So shift backslash key, there we go. So put 1 to be false here. Save this. Let's run and see ourselves. Aha, there we go. Did not matter whether we had 1 false, right? As long as we have 1 true, one of them is true, then the whole statement is true, which means we will then see our yes being printed out. So for OR, it's the opposite of AND, which means if one variable is true, then the condition returns true. Okay, so the OR is the opposite of AND, because all it takes is to have one variable to be true for the entire statement to be true, return true, which means then this condition returns a true and this runs and shows yes. Let's move on to do not. So let's start with something simpler here. Let's get rid of all of this and just leave the first. So we know first is false. Let's run this, save, run. And of course, because first is false, nothing will show. So our statement here will not run, okay, or will not show what's inside of our braces in this block code here, okay? Truly, because first is false. Because earlier we say this if statement will run what's inside here only if our condition here becomes true, okay? Now, let's put an exclamation mark here first, so not first, which means we are going to make this first opposite what it is, so we're going to make this true. Let's see what's going to happen. Save and run, and we should see yes, right? Because now this exclamation mark at first here negates whatever this is, makes it opposite what it is. So now since this is positive or it's true, right? Therefore, this will run and you can see yes. Now the if statements can be as complicated as you want them to be. For instance, you can make a condition here to be something a little bit more elaborate. So let's say if we want to say if A is equal to 1, right? And we want to say and first is not equal to second. All right, so we have a fairly complex condition here. So we're saying if A is equal to 1, right? We want to make sure A is 1 and first is not equal to second, then we want this to show. It's only if this condition is met, if this condition is true, then will this run. So let's save this and run and see if that works. Yes. Well, let's study this a little bit. So A is equal to 1. Okay, it's true. A is 1. And first is not equal to second. First is false. Second is true. So that's true. So this whole statement here is true. Therefore, we see yes. Now let's go ahead and if we said here equal as well. So now we're saying A, if A is equal to 1 and first is equal to second, let's save this and see if this runs. And voila, look what you see. Nothing is showing. Why? Because none of this statement is true. Now that you've learned the if statements, you learn how to use relational operators as well as logical operators. Go ahead and create a lot of applications that are fairly complicated, right? Because now you are able to make decisions, make sure that when you program, you are able to make decisions whether or not you want a certain piece of code to run when something is met, right? So you can create an if statement here and make sure if variable A is equal to variable B and or that other condition is met or not met, you can do all these complicated comparisons and spit out the result you want. Now you can use logical operators and relation operators together inside of if statement to make very important decisions in your program. All right, so we'll see more of this, of course, at a later time, because most of the programming, actually, it's all about decision making, which is exactly what we have done here, what I've shown you here. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.